This video review was shot, produced, and mastered in Cinemawide 8K. Make sure to click on the gear icon for the highest resolution at 4320p. Samsung are really enjoying the perks of not needing to try it anymore and still being the best. Like James Brown said, this is pretty much the perks of paying the cost to be the boss. And that cost of being the boss has pretty much come over years and years of just absolutely dominating and doing everything to stay at the top, from innovating with foldables to having the best Ultra flagship phone and initiating what the Ultra was and what it stood for. And now we're here. From the death of the Note to the revival of the Note, disguised in the S series Ultra, we're now here, the midpoint of the 2020 decade, 2025, with the S25 Ultra. And it doesn't even look like Samsung are trying, or do they even feel like they need to try? Well, they're in their era of having to enjoy the benefits and the perks of paying the cost to be the boss to really be where they are right now. Because I look at the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the time that I've spent with it, after rigorous testing, intense testing, time spent with it, and on the surface level, and even when you're using it, it really does look like Samsung haven't really tried. But it's only when you dig deeper and you actually look and you think, you know what? It's just the exercise and the little things here and there, pulled together, culminated together, that really make the S25 Ultra special. So yeah, it may seem underwhelming, but my goodness, is this phone brilliant. Let's start things off and touch on the design and the build quality. And I have to say, Samsung have just perfected the design and the overall feel and look of what the Galaxy S Ultra device is meant to be. This S25 Ultra, wow, have they put things together really nicely. And I have to say, even for me, the redesign is understated and it's also my favorite part. They've made it lighter, they've made it slimmer, they've rounded the corners. The feel of the phone just balances so perfectly now. And I remember still, from my early hands-on with it, that the feeling of this phone being this well packaged was just unreal. Of course, they haven't really stated what type of titanium that they're using. And I've got the hero color, the titanium silver blue. And everything put together, it just feels exquisite to use. But I have to say, the thing that didn't really inspire me that much was the colors. The colors don't really do it for me all that much. And to be honest, apart from the black one, when you're actually looking at all the others together, it's really hard to tell in between them. So I'm not gonna lie, I still feel that way after having time with it. The colors really feel uninspiring. Even this hero color. Away from the colors, I have to say everything put together on this is really good. Samsung have nailed it. The weight reduction just makes sense. How they've slimmed the phone down just makes sense. Everything put together is just really nice. But there are some things to really consider in terms of what's really there that could have been done better or put into consideration. 2 points of contention with the S25 Ultra design and build, which are not necessarily the end of the world or even deal breakers, are one thing that's been taken away, and also another thing that just hasn't really been added yet. Now, the thing that's been taken away is the Bluetooth functionality of the S Pen, and I have to say, this is a damn shame. This reminds me of when the infrared blaster was removed, and it's very easy to say not many people use the IR blaster, which I guess same goes for the Bluetooth S Pen. It still doesn't take away from the fact that it was actually a very useful, nice to have, and also a statement piece of usability for an Ultra phone. Now I'm thinking about the next one. The next one has got to be native magnetic wireless charging built into the physical design of the phone. Yes, wired charging is always going to be used broadly by a lot more people. And for those that are actually using wireless charging, having native magnetic charging built into the phone would have been nice. And however, Samsung have stated their support for the Qi 2 wireless charging standard. If you want to enjoy wireless charging with this method, then you need a case that supports it. And that's where Magback have you covered with their Elite case for the S25 Ultra. Out of the gate, Magback's Elite case for the S25 Ultra is one of the best and has some of the strongest built-in magnets you'll find, thanks to its telescoping magnets, giving you up to 3 times the mounting strength of standard cases, which even allows you to mount to uneven surfaces that are supported. And it sticks out of the phone as you get closer to a metal surface and then retracts when you move away. And most importantly, it gives you the ability to charge your S25 Ultra magnetically. The additional finger loop is great for that added security when gripping the case. It's adjustable and tucks away nicely when you don't need it, while still giving you full wireless charging functionality. When we take a look at the built-in kickstand, it's nice and discreet, hidden until you need it, and it's a great way to have a nice hands-free experience when watching your favorite videos and more. Comfort is so important on the Elite case, and thanks to the pinky pillow, dust is kept away from the charging port, and the silicone cushion makes for a perfect place to rest your pinky finger, and also the silicone grips reduce slip and make the grip of the case feel great. And on top of that, you can customize the case easily to your liking with color accents for the swappable buttons, finger loop, side grips, lens rings, and the pinky pillow to really make it your own. Amongst other great benefits like the included edgeless screen protector with a super straightforward installation process, a lanyard anchoring support system, microfiber lining for a soft interior cushion, accessory support with Magback's ecosystem of products, and a nice slim design, the Elite case is just what you need for your S25 Ultra. Check the link in the description below for where you can get your Elite case for the S25 Ultra. And thank you to Magback for sponsoring a portion of this video. The display experience yet again proves that Samsung are just in a league of their own and an absolute masterclass at making a great display experience. They don't need extra certifications from your display mates with A+++ ratings to really showcase this. No, like Samsung just knows how to make a quality display experience, and it's more than the sum of the parts from specifications alone. And it's got specs for days, right? But it's how the display makes you feel with just the things that they've done to bring it all together. I mean, at this stage, cool, could we actually expect and should have gotten a 2160p 4K display? Maybe, but honestly, those things are unnecessary. What it's really about is giving you the best display experience at that QHD plus 1440p resolution, and Samsung knocked it out the park. Again, marketing jargon aside with dynamic AMOLED 2X display and all these different things and whatnot, and the Pro Scaler that upscales images for high resolution from low resolution, all these things are working in the background. I can't change it, I can't touch it, right? But it's the things put together, the whole punch. I'm so glad Samsung are sticking to their guns and making sure that the fingerprint sensor, which is still ultrasonic and great as ever, the standard, the gold standard, and not putting a Face ID equivalent like what some other manufacturers do. Ugh. That whole punch and just the extra slim borders and bezels that they've added this time, the slightly larger display at 6.9 inches, everything put together, the brightness, and the Halo product and feature. Gorilla Glass Armor Generation 2. Now, the Armor 1 was great in terms of anti-reflectiveness, but sometimes it did react badly to certain materials and cause permanent smudges, so I don't know if that's something that they've addressed, but my goodness, I'm still taking this all day long. the display experience in terms of how much it improves perceived brightness and visibility is excellent. It's vivid, but still color accurate and well toned in. This display, and of course still having S Pen functionality, Bluetooth taken away or not, it still works on there. I can't sing any higher praise for the display experience. Samsung, you're the best at it. Take it. The camera experience, and if you've not had a chance to digest it and see already, and it's your first time on this channel with this review, and you appreciate the more cinematic feel to our reviews, as well as a detailed, methodical approach to our technical testings to really bring us a strong founding and experience to our reviews, then be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos on the Lover of Tech channel, especially when it comes to our cinematic reviews and our technical testings. And I say this, and boy, oh boy, have they done something with the camera. Now, on the surface level, they haven't. And if you've not had a chance, go watch my definitive camera comparison. I did a 4-way against the Vivo X200 Pro, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and things were just out of the park in what it was producing. And the Pixel 9 Pro XL was in there as well. Samsung, you've done great with this camera, but on the surface level, there's still things that we need you to get done, and I'll get to that. Yes, the ultra wide has been updated. It's a larger sensor, it's high resolution, it's 50 megapixels, and I appreciate it. It's still a 0.6x. I would love it to be a genuine ultra wide at 0.5x or even wider, but again, we take what we're given. I would still have preferred them to have prioritized the 3x zoom rather than the ultra wide, but I get it. The competition have upgraded their ultra wide, you got to do the same too. But that 3x 10 megapixel zoom, it's just looking like an anomaly and an odd one out. Maybe this is just a case by case where they're upgrading the lenses per generation, so we've got something to talk about. That's probably reserved for the S25 Ultra, but I'll tell you what they've been able to do with this in terms of the processing power underneath the hood for the camera, impressive. Look at the video performance. Samsung are still the only ones that have the most seamless experience when it comes to video recording. With switching between all the lenses, you can do that in 4K 30, from the rear to the front. And it's the only camera that I know that does it in 4K 60 as well, where you can flip to the selfie camera. This level of flexibility has to be praised. But you see, they take it a step further. The ultra-wide shoots 8K up to 30 frames a second with great stabilization in image quality and detail. That's the same for the 1X, and it's the same for the 5X. Now, you can't switch between them, but of course, this is gonna come once the 3X becomes high resolution and they can all shoot 8K. And then Samsung, make that usability happen. In fact, even upgrade the selfie to be able to shoot 8K, just as a showcase of technology piece, right? They've improved the slow motion. You can do it on the ultra wide. Before, that was reserved for the Pro mode. It's now in the ultra wide with the main 1X. Great flexibility there. Things like the audio eraser have been added. You now have legitimate HDR with 10-bit video recording, which can now tone map to SDR much easier, which is great. And then you've got log. They've added a logarithmic profile in there. And the fact that you can do this in 8K and it's a 10-bit file, yes, this is all Pro Talk features, but you see, when you're an ultra device, this is the showcasing technology that we're looking for, right? This is the kind of flex. Your competition does it, you do it better. It's a form of top trumps, but my goodness, away from all of that, even the picture quality is great. They've really dialed in the skin tones. The skin tones have just become so much better than before. And for someone like me of the darker skin persuasion, it's so much more important. And you see little nuances where I'm gonna take credit for, as someone that was pretty much the only one bugging about it. Little things like you can use the flash with the ultra wide. For years, for some reason, Samsung did not allow you to use the ultra wide camera in low light with the flash. You can now. So you can tell that they've really listened and dialed certain things in. But there are some annoyances that aren't the end of the world, but it's like they still haven't necessarily improved video portrait mode too much. In fact, they took some features away. You could actually change the effects as you're recording. Those features are not there. I mean, you can still change the blur intensity, but I would love for them to figure out how to store the metadata and allow you to change the blur after you finish recording. That's so much more useful. And just a few other odd niggles and stuff, but apart from that, honestly, the camera system is so much better. The zoom in is much smoother. everything is just coming together so nicely in there. And I'll be honest with you, it shocked me how usable and how much more usable they've made the camera system, to the point where the S24 Ultra was my best camera system. It stood the test of time for every comparison that I threw against it and everyday usability. And I'm telling you this now, this is going to be the camera that does it for me for 2025. And it's going to be a stiff competition to go past it. It just doesn't skip a beat in all the feature sets and the performance. But definitely, if you don't believe me, go check my camera comparison for it. Next is the battery life. And this part is going to cut two ways, and it actually might be a bit confusing for you as the audience. So I'm going to try my best to explain why. The first part is that the battery life impressed me way more than I thought. And at the same time, I still expected more out of it. First part I'm going to explain is that the Snapdragon 8 Elite 4 Galaxy chipset that's built in here is a much more powerful version than the standard 8 Elite. But they've optimized it a lot more. But even with that, it was still a point of worry because we're still working with the same 5,000 mAh battery capacity and the same 45 watt super fast charging 2.0 tech that Samsung uses. So now we're there thinking a massive worry in terms of regression in battery life. But when I put it through the ringer in terms of everyday use and in my extreme battery drain test, which I recommend you go check it out, I threw it under the gauntlet against the iPhone 16 Pro Max, against a brand new out-of-the-box S24 Ultra and my original 1-year-old Galaxy S24 Ultra, and you'll be shocked what we got in terms of the results. This actually beat the brand new S24 Ultra out of the box by a good 40 to 50 minutes extra. So we do get an improvement in battery life. And in fact, in terms of what we're seeing from the 1-year-old S24 Ultra, my goodness, it is a leap abound. So while they were able to really stretch and maximize a lot out of this 5,000 mAh battery and having a much more powerful chipset, you compare the time that it got compared to the OnePlus 13 that I did, which is 8 Elite powered and it has a 6,000 mAh battery, the optimization is actually in favor of the Samsung. I cannot believe I'm saying this. But why did I still expect more out of it? Because it's still lost to the iPhone 16 Pro Max in my testing. And considering the iPhone 16 Pro Max is working with a smaller 4,685 mAh battery, this is something that I wish in some way they were able to put a much bigger battery in the Galaxy S25 Ultra, at least 5,200 up to 5,500 milliamps, and made the charging 65 watts. I don't know what the logistics behind it is. Something is telling me it's something to do with maybe a fear of the past or logistics issues, whatever it is. Us not getting a bigger battery at this point, having the same capacity since the S20 Ultra, let that sink in. It's a missed opportunity. Even though it is impressive they've been able to package all of this in a slimmer and lighter phone and eke out more performance when it comes to the battery in a much more powerful chipset. So yeah, it confuses me how it cuts across both sides. And where do I sit? I do wish I had more battery. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I am impressed with the optimization that's here. And even the thing that impressed me the most is the charging. It's still the same charging tech, but they've improved the charging curve and it charges generally quicker. Like there's a noticeable difference compared to the 25 watt charger and the 15 watt charger. Again, I did a test, you can go see it. And I've done this test over and over again since the S22 Ultra days. And this is the first time generally I can say the 45 watt charger is worth getting. 25 watts is still the sweet spot, but my goodness, have they improved it where it's a decent amount below an hour. I still want them to implement 65 watt charging so that this phone can charge 100% in like 45 minutes, 40 minutes. But for now, you know what? Most people are gonna be happy and finally pleased with the 45 watt charging working properly on an S25 Ultra. And everything else, like I mentioned, with wireless charging improving, natively having magnetic built in, hopefully they'll get it done. But maybe the writing's on the wall. With the Bluetooth S Pen being taken away, maybe it's time to take away the S Pen altogether, like what they did with the S20 Ultra and the S21 Ultra. Go back to that. Stick to the guns. Give us a bigger battery. Give us faster charging when it comes to wired and wireless. I think we would appreciate that. Now, when it comes to the performance of the phone, this part is going to be short and sweet, but I am going to touch on two areas. Again, we've said enough about the chipset. This chipset is fast, and especially this version for Galaxy with the A Elite is fast. The benchmarks show it, but away from benchmarks, right? Gaming performance is excellent, everyday usability is excellent, and I know that comes with the territory of the fresh phone feeling, but honestly, by muscle memory with the new software and the new chipset and how everything's put together, it generally does feel smoother and faster than ever before. It feels like they've really put things together and tightened things together, which is really great to see. Now, I don't have a problem with the specs and the performance, but I still think by principle at this point, the 512 gig model up should have come with 16 gigabytes of RAM just for that extra added future compatibility, because when we get to the software, this is gonna have long-term software support. And from when some of the competition on the Android side are offering 16 gigabytes of RAM and higher, right? I think still sticking to 12 gigs of RAM for that extra peace of mind for future compatibility was a missed opportunity. Yes, RAM Plus is there, but we need genuine extra more RAM. And overall, the performance is something I can't really complain about. I think they've done a great job, and I'm just glad it's Snapdragon powered across the board for all of the S25 series. So yeah, when it comes to the performance, apart from not having the extra RAM in the higher storage models from 512 gigs and higher, man, this feels really well put together. Now, software. I'm gonna glance over this because being open and transparent, I don't really cover software that heavy here on my channel. I focus on the other parameters because that's of high interest to me. Software is software. Honestly, One UI is my favorite overall software when it comes to any smartphone in general. So I love the refinements and the things that they've done with One UI 7 with Android 15, especially the smoothness and fluidity. I mean, I appreciate little things like having more information when it comes to battery. So you've got the battery health and also the charge cycles when it was manufactured. Those little things are really well appreciated. For someone like me that does a lot of technical testing, it gives great visibility for my audience and even for myself, how well the battery is holding up health-wise. So, you know, the software really does what it needs to do. I think Samsung are just in a very strange place now with the surgence of AI. You know, it's just AI this, AI that, AI this. And I have to admit, Galaxy AI is probably in the strongest position next to Google, right? They partner with them. They've got their own integration with Bixby, Gemini, and everything put together. Galaxy AI does work really well. It's just not really that much of a high interest to me personally. It might be as I use it more and more, right? But rest assured the software is okay. I think they're just in a bit of a rut where the communication of when and how much they're gonna charge for this AI service and how useful it's gonna be, it's still in the air, but let's see how things go. Overall, software, I'm sure you're gonna find other channels that are gonna give you a much deeper breakdown, but for me, it's been okay. And that's pretty much the experience all put together. At this point in where we are with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, what else are we expecting Samsung to do with the follow-up? Maybe next year we get a 50 megapixel larger sensor at 3x, a new chipset as expected. Maybe they finally give us 16 gigabytes of RAM like I've been saying, but apart from that, I don't see what else Samsung is actually going to do to improve it to try. I mean, we know they can do more, bigger battery, faster charging, all the usual things that we really want them to do. But really, when you're in their position where your phone is sold in every single country, every single retailer, every single network, strong trading deals and accessibility, and the ability to actually allow people to have access to your device with no issues, no problems. I mean, come on. Would you want to try? Do you blame them for not really trying? What they've really leaned into is not just the surgeons of AI, but just a masterclass in refinements and improvements that, when really put together, my goodness, the phone just feels the part. It really does. And it's early to call it, but yet again, I think we're gonna be here and this might be the benchmark. Not might be. The Galaxy S25 Ultra is the benchmark and pretty much the phone of the year for 2025.